Hey, my name is Eden Longson, and I should be writing music right now, but instead I'm on the internet talking about things that I like. When you frame a narrative around a specific character, it can change the moral perceptions of the audience, I think. Like some easy examples include Joe Goldberg from Netflix's You, which is like a creepy romantic stalker thriller. From the word go, this man is creepy and stalkerish and is morally corrupt, but consistently tells himself that he is doing a good thing. Sometimes that good thing includes killing people, I guess. But as Joe's story through the first season goes on, we see his relationship begin to form this intimate bond until Beck finds a little box full of her teeth. What I love about that scene is that we go in an instant from Joe's perspective of a loving relationship to Beck's perspective of, oh my god, this man's a psycho, I need to leave. Kevin Spacey in House of Cards, another example of the bad guy being the protagonist. The man schemes, connives, and sometimes does a cheeky murder just to get what he wants. And as an audience, we are complicit in his goals because he is the person we are following. His goals become our goals. Each time Doug met up with Rachel, I thought to myself, hurry up and kill her, man. She knows too much. How does a TV show get you to root for murdering sex workers? By framing the entire narrative around the bad guy. When you're in on their thoughts and wants and desires, they subconsciously become your thoughts, your wants, your desires. Another example is the book version of Cersei Lannister. Full disclosure, I've never seen the TV show. And also, I'm not sure that I ever will. But I have read the books. And yes, I am that nerd. If you haven't read the Song of Ice and Fire book series, each chapter is centered around a different character's point of view. And what I love about that is that each chapter contains only the knowledge of what that character knows. For example, Bran is only a child. In fact, he's a lot younger in the book than he is in the TV show. So when he catches Jaime and Cersei bonking, he describes it as though they are fighting. Naked. Bless him. There are only a limited number of characters whose points of view we see. And in each book, George R. R. Martin introduces us to a couple of new points of view. I remember being outraged at the start of the third book. And I was outraged that I thought I'd have to read Jaime Lannister's point of view. I hate that guy. But over the course of the subsequent chapters, you come to realise that he can be a decent and honest person. He can overcome his upbringing and restore honour to his name. Now, in the fourth book, A Feast for Crows, I saw Cersei's name at the top of the chapter and I thought, George, I swear to God, I don't want any sympathy for this devil. And at no point does Cersei's character get redeemed. This lady is cruel, vicious, and like overtly evil. However, as we see her plans set in motion, her celebrating every victory and mourning each loss, we don't sympathise, but I think we unwillingly empathise. You can't put the metaphorical skin of a character on for that long and not start to will their success, because we all want success. In most narratives, we are following a character who is ultimately good, even if they don't always act morally. For every Luke Skywalker, there's a Han Solo. Sidebar. Some people say that Han Solo is an anti-hero, and this is not true. He's a reluctant protagonist. Any anti-hero is more like Jack Bauer from 24. Is doing the right thing, but is using immoral and brutal needs. Cersei and Joe, these are examples of villain protagonists. I'd love to talk for a moment about story structure, and I really want to bring up Dan Harmon's story circle. The story circle has 8 points. You, need, go, search, find, take, return, change. This is a condensed and concentrated form of the monomyth, or like the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell. The protagonist has a need, they go in search of it, they find it, pay a price, and return changed. To make a compelling narrative, the protagonist has to get what they desire, but to have had to have paid a high price for it. Frodo lost friends, he lost a finger, and he travelled far and stared right into the face of evil, and he threw the ring into the fire, and he brought peace to the world. But when the character you are following is morally corrupt, it subverts this expectation, as the character is not setting out to achieve a moral goal, but instead a personal victory. And I think we often take for granted that our heroes are setting out to save the world or do a moral thing. But with framing a narrative around the bad guy, we remove the naive quality of morality and instead add the fascinating notion that we can empathize with anyone when told through a story. It's the power of storytelling. It can viscerally transport us to somewhere so uncomfortable and eventually get us on board. This can sometimes have societally negative consequences. For example, Joker. That scene where Arthur is on Murray's show and he tells a joke. The exact joke is, what do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash? I'll tell you what you get what you fucking deserve. And then he shoots Murray in the head. I've definitely seen discourse over this scene and talk about how it redeems Joker, or it shows that it's not his fault that it's like this, it's society's fault. But like, can't it be both? Like, there's a lot of talk of this movie being like an incel's dream. There's this man with mental health issues. And yeah, he's being mocked and ridiculed by his idol Murray and beaten up on the street and ostracized from many people in society. But this doesn't redeem Joker. The scene is him going over the edge, beyond the pale, and into darkness. It's sad how we got here, but then again, he made the choice to kill people. Jean Valjean stole a loaf of bread to feed his sister's family, and ultimately morally justified action considering his circumstances, but I would argue that murdering people in cold blood is maybe never justified? This scene is not the Joker's triumph. This scene is where we realise this is a tragedy. Everyone was in the wrong. Thomas Wayne, Murray Franklin, all the people who have laughed and derided Arthur, but he is in the wrong too. The entire narrative has been wrapped around him, and so we empathise. And some people take that feeling of empathy and woefully misinterpret it as it's okay to snap and kill people if you've been ostracised from your community. That's not a great lesson. This is why I love BoJack Horseman. He's the bad guy. I mean, sure, it's more nuanced than that, but ultimately all of the terrible things that happen to all the characters in that show stem from BoJack and his morally corrupt character. The show makes you care about BoJack, and you want him to get better, to write his book, to win his Oscar, to be happy. The show never stops telling you that he is the bad guy. At the Filbert premiere in season 5, BoJack makes a speech and talks about how Filbert made him feel better about himself. Because if Filbert is damaged and has done bad things, but it's ultimately the good guy of the story, then maybe BoJack can be too. But Filbert is not the good guy of his story either. He killed his wife and his partner. The process of making that show within the show reveals to us the nature of BoJack Horseman as a show. Here is a bad guy. But sit with him a while. Watch him accomplish things, watch him fail at things. Maybe you'll end up liking him and rooting for him. But he gets his comeuppance, because he's the bad guy. Maybe that's why at the end of the show I always feel a little bit disappointed. You know, spoilers for BoJack Horseman, but you should have already seen that show because it's the best show ever made. But, you know, he ends up, you know, going to Princess Caroline's wedding, you know, but on a day release from prison. And he, you know, his world is different, and he didn't succeed. He didn't, you know, run away from retribution. The retribution came, and you know, you've been rooting for this dude for 6 seasons. So when he doesn't get his way, there's always this little itch at the back of your mind that kind of wishes he'd got his way, and that's because the entire narrative has been framed around him, and that is the power of villain protagonists. Anyway, thanks for watching me ramble about things. Please leave me a like, maybe subscribe to the channel, and hey, go check out my music. I'm a composer, and I'd love for you to go hear my music if you wouldn't mind. Love you. Bye.